Connection is establishing. I am live. Alright. Give it a few minutes to get inside here. Start this stream up. Alright. Stream looks to be holding good. No miscues, no miscues. I like that. Hopefully we have a nice clean stream tonight without stuff breaking down. Hopefully it's a nice clean stream. We'll give a few minutes before we start the stream out. I'm just testing to make sure everything is kosher. Hopefully everything is nice and good. Hey Javi, how's it going, sir? Just making sure the stream is good. Figured today's topic would be pretty good to talk about. Figured it'd be a nice good one. Hoping the stream holds well. I tested the hell out of this thing. I think it's going to be good. Hey Glue, how's it going, sir? Well, we're going to be talking about stuff like that. That's part of the reason why I wanted to do this stream. Definitely. We'll give it a few more minutes before I start it up. I just want to make sure everything is kosher. Still nothing yet, dude. Had something for a couple days. Really wasn't a good fit. They wanted me to become a business analyst, a project manager, and a QA person. And I'm like, no. So I'm still in the job market right now. That was the lead that you sent me, Javi. Unfortunately, it really wasn't the best fit. There's a guy who basically knew you. He's the one who contacted me. Unfortunately. We got 4 people in the stream. Thank you guys for coming in. How's the mic sound? Let me know if you need it louder or not. I cut the desktop audio, so there shouldn't be any of this reverb, my voice echoing back on me, I hope. Just let me know, please. I think it sounds okay, but I don't have any headphones on, so I can't hear my own voice. So I'm assuming it's okay. No, it's not your fault, dude. Hey, gentlemen, how's it going, sir? It's not your fault, Javi. Dude, it's not your fault. It's not your issue. It's, the guy had the right intention, but the wrong position. Awesome. How's it going, house? How's it going? Thank you guys for coming into the stream. Let me make sure where the heck is it? Where is it at? Did I close it? I probably did. That would be stupid. I closed my stuff down. I might have by accident. That would have been dumb. Hold on, let me make sure something here, guys, real quick. Let me pop another window open. Can't believe I closed it. That was me being a silly. 1 second, guys. I usually keep the alerts and stuff like that open so I can check to make sure the alerts don't break. Sometimes with the OBS online software, it can bust. There's the test button, so that should work okay, I hope. You should see a little testing button show up here. Yeah, gentlemen, I couldn't find mine. I don't know if My Toys R Us still has it. I'm going to talk about the Toys R Us stuff, but probably in next week's stream. There's a lot of news coming out and some very good news that has developed, but I don't want to make any info drops yet about it until all the info has been established. I don't want to quote sources yet until everything is solid. So it's at 9 o'clock, guys. Thank you all for coming into my stream. I got my drink here, no monster drink. I'm drinking some Clear American Fuji Apple here. Big plug out to them. Good stuff. So let's actually get into this stream. Why did I make this topic? The topic, in case you guys didn't notice it, I posted it in my Facebook groups and in my Instagram, I think my Facebook groups and my Twitter page, was Star Trek versus Star Wars. I brought this subject up because from what I always see two parties for the Star Trek and Star Wars debates back and forth. I want to make this dialogue with you guys, the audience. Why does this always happen? I'm not sure why this always occurs. I'm hopefully hopefully, fingers crossed, able to fill this entire hour with this dialogue. I don't know if it's going to. If it stops short, we'll just do Q&A. Star Trek versus Star Wars. I don't know why there's always this debate. There's this butting of heads. It feels like you're going to take this analogy it's sort of a metaphor, an analogy. Think of it this way. It's like going to, let's say, PE or recess when you're in high school, when you have two teams playing dodgeball. They're always butting heads against one another. It's very, very weird sort of symbology, but if that's what it sort of feels like, they don't get along. Either you're pro Star Trek or you hate Star Wars, or you're pro Star Wars and hate Star Trek. Even people in the chat say that. I'm not sure the reason why. Yeah, he looks pretty good, actually. I believe that's the Chase version. It's Good Luck Bear. I believe it's the Chase version. But there's always this butting of heads between the two geek communities, and I don't know the reason why. I'm trying to find out. I want to basically poke and prod your guys' heads to come up the reasoning. Now, I'll tell you my personal feelings between the two. Hey, OMG, how's it going, sir? Cool, awesome. Glad to see you come into the stream. We're doing some Star Trek versus Star Wars debate between these two big IP properties, and I don't know why there's this debate between the two. Who just for the toilet? I don't know. So, my personal opinion when it comes to, let's talk Star Trek first. Let's talk my feelings of Star Trek. So we can basically make at least my baseline, my opinion on the two. And actually Star Wars itself. Am I pro Star Trek or am I pro Star Wars? I am the guy who's right dead in the middle. I'm the guy who likes them both. That's why you saw me in the picture of the thumbnail, my hands like this. Because I like both properties. I like them equally as well. Science versus fantasy, I can't really say that's really science versus fantasy. There's both sci-fi and fantasy in Star Wars, and it's more sci-fi-ish in Star Trek. But I don't really think it's science versus fantasy butting heads per se, because they're both, at least from the Star Wars perspective, they both have sci-fi fantasy elements tied within the actual culture, within an IP itself. So I'm not really sure. I don't know that either, Jackie. I'm not quite sure. Okay, no problem, Cowboy. Come on back. I'm not quite sure. But my personal feelings when it comes to, let me start with Star Trek first. What is my favorite Star Trek movie? Me, personally, I love Wrath of Khan. I always love Wrath of Khan. I always tell, if you're looking to get someone addicted or hooked on, let's say, Star Trek, in this opinion, you can actually just throw Wrath of Khan in, and they'd be able to watch that actual movie without any other backstory, without any other bits of Star Trek canon. They don't need to know anything about the TV shows, about the people who played in the roles. They need nothing to watch a good movie with a beginning, middle, and end. At least in my personal opinion. I think Wrath of Khan is probably one of the best put together Star Trek pieces of canon ever, in my personal opinion. That may be up to debate, but I actually really like Wrath of Khan. Now, if you're talking TV shows, hide that. Excuse me. So if you ask me what is my favorite Star Trek TV show, to me it's a little different. To me it's a little bit odd, only because I don't usually take the straight and narrow when it comes to the actual Star Trek stuff. A lot of people usually pick one of two types of Star Trek shows they actually like. They either like the original classic Star Trek, with, of course, had William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy, which is Kirk and Spock. Or they like Next Generation, which is Picard, Data, Riker, the newer guys. Those are what usually people take, those two properties. Me, I don't usually swing that way. So you've seen it too, MG. I see it all the time, and I don't know the reason why, hence this dialogue. I don't know the reason why there's so much hate, and I wanted to pose it to the audience to try to figure out why there's so much hate. But as far as my favorite Star Trek TV show, I like DS9. I'm a big fan of DS9. It's a different sort of TV show. They're not going on a 5-year mission. They're not really exploring space. It has to do with different underlying tones. It has to do with religion. It has to do with politics. It has to do with basically life on a space station. So you have sort of everything's ingrained and engrossed in that location. They're not going anywhere. Of course, my favorite ship is the actual Defiant. I love the Defiant from DS9. It is my all-time favorite Star Trek ship, period, hands down. But the reason why I think I like DS9 a little bit better is the actual cast. When you look at someone, let's say, like Benjamin Sisko, the guy who played Avery Brooks, who played Sisko. He was a different sort of captain. He wasn't like Kirk. He wasn't adventurous. He wasn't like Picard, who was diplomatic. He was more of a guy who was no nonsense, didn't take any crap, and dealt with stuff when he needed to. He didn't, he actually played really, really dirty. He didn't play real clean like, let's say, Picard, who tried to negotiate his way out of a problem. If it meant a fight, he actually got into a fight, and he didn't really care. Maybe lives were lost, unfortunately, but he's basically the ends justify the means as far as Sisko's mentality. Yeah, it was called Star Trek Next Generation back in the 90s. That's what the show was titled. Basically, so people who are not familiar with Star Trek, you had the original classic Star Trek TV show. Then you had the Next Generation. Then you had DS9. Then you had Voyager. Then you had Enterprise. And now you have Discovery. Those are the actual sets of series as they progressed through all of Star Trek lore. There's magical aspects to it, Javi, absolutely. But I still don't know why they butt heads, and we'll talk more about that in a second. I don't know. People actually hate it on my channel all the time. I've had trolls on my channel, and I'm very much like a Sisko. I take no prisoners. I'm no nonsense. I'm not a guy who gives second chances. You're going to offend me. You're going to offend the audience. You're gone. I do not play games. I'm not someone who takes name-calling or trolling at all lightly. If you have issues, if you attack me or any subscribers, you're gone from my channel. I do not hold anything back. I run a very, very clean ship. There's a lot of kids who watch my show and to my subscribers. They are. There's a lot of hatred, and I don't know the reason why. But the reason why I think I liked Sisko so much was he literally spun out of Picard's backstory. Basically, when he became Locutus of Borg, basically he got abducted and he became one of the Borg drones. In Wolf 359, which was a sector of space, they got attacked by the Borg. Sisko lost basically his family except for his son. And I like the dichotomy between Picard and Sisko. I like that. Basically, I loved Sisko's character. I think he was a really cool character. That's one of the main reasons why I like DS9 so much. Now, on the flip side, let's talk about Star Wars. I gave Star Trek a lot of talk. Now let's talk Star Wars. I like Star Wars a lot. It is scientific. There's a lot of sci-fi stuff, and there is the fantastic, as Javi mentioned. There's a lot of that in that culture. It is a galaxy far, far away, way, way past basically what we think of humanity and our civilization is completely different. You have the mythical and the unexplained, like the Force. No problem. So, I mean, it's all different when you come to, let's say, Star Wars. Now, there's a lot of Star Wars canon. There's a lot of stuff to take in. You have, in this case, would it be 9 movies going to be released? You have multiple TV shows. You have comics, much like you would have for, let's say, Star Trek. But there's a lot going on with Star Wars. And there is a fantastic sort of element to it. Cool. No problem, dude. Awesome. Love to get some stuff, OMG. I love to do reviews. Awesome. Thank you, sir. You can have a burrito, no problem, dude. But as far as, I mean, if you ask me also what was my favorite Star Wars movie, it's probably, I'm going to go with the straight and narrow. I'm probably going to go with Empire. Empire basically turned the road when it came to Star Wars. It made it into a darker direction. The characters actually lost something. They did not win the fight. The bad guys actually won. Usually movies have the good guys win at the end of the actual piece. Usually there's a happy ending. In this one, there wasn't really a happy ending. The Empire actually physically won the fight. Yes, the rebels got away, but the Empire wounded one of the main characters, crushed their morale, basically, and had them on the run. So I definitely do like it. Now, both franchises, both Star Trek and Star Wars, have their issues right now. And let's address that. Basically, it's a big elephant in the room. The biggest issue that happened with Star Trek right now is the horrible Star Trek Discovery. People say to me, Rook, have you seen it? No, I have not seen Star Trek Discovery. And I'm probably not going to, mainly because of the way, I think it was Warner Brothers? I think it was Warner Brothers. Basically, or I can't remember. Let me know in the comments section. I can't remember who puts out Star Trek. I want to say Warner Brothers, but I'm probably wrong here. I believe Ben 10's a animated TV show, I believe. But the biggest issue was Discovery with their paywall. For you to, actually NBC I think did it. NBC I think it was people who did it. The biggest problem was their paywall, meaning you could have watched the first episode of Discovery, but for you to watch the next episode, you had to cough up money to buy into the subscription model. To me, that doesn't make any sense. It should be on free TV like everything else. You have sponsors you can pay for it, you have people do ads. There's no need to put it behind a paywall. And I think that was a horrible, horrible, absolutely a dismal idea that Star Trek took doing that. That's what I'm going to go to next. That's two of the points I'm going to talk to, and that is issue Harvey, definitely. I want to talk about that in a second. But that was my biggest concern with Star Trek was Discovery and the paywall. They tried to basically insert the Discovery before, I think it was before Enterprise, I believe it was. And they completely changed Klingons, they completely changed all the canon, and they completely screwed everything up. And I don't know why they decided to go this route. I don't know why. I don't know if they're going politically correct. I don't know. You're going to have, a female. I think there's a female second in command. I don't know why they're changing it up so much with the Star Trek lore. I can't figure it out why they decided to go in this wide direction. I don't understand. Now, as Javi pointed out, for Star Wars, two big problems are with Star Wars. One, as he mentioned, is the stupid midichlorian stuff. The Force was supposed to be this mystical thing, this unexplained thing that no one really knew anything about. That's what gave the Force its fantastical nature. Everybody loved it. Yeah, a lot of people don't like the new Klingons. I don't get them. I don't know why they decided to take that direction. But the midichlorian count, where you're trying to basically peg for science, try to put a scientific spin on the Force. In my opinion, it didn't need to be done. You completely could cut that piece out of Phantom Menace, and it would make the movie so much better. Leave it to the fantastical, the mystic. You don't need to know why the Force exists. It's a mystical energy source that binds everything. It brings harmony and the world and the universe together. Leave it at that. You don't need to plug a meaning on top of it. It's not needed. The second thing, in my personal opinion, was the The Last Jedi movie. I absolutely hated that movie. I have six watchers in this stream. Thank you guys very, very much for watching and sticking with my channel. The Last Jedi movie, in my honest opinion, was an absolute piece of garbage. Hot trash, as Kofi Kingston would say in WWE. I absolutely hated The Last Jedi movie. I despised it. What they did to a beloved character who's been alive, who's been with everyone's minds and souls and hearts for close to over, 30 years, or close to 40 years now, didn't need to be put out to pasture that easy. Could you come back in the new Star Wars movie? Possibly. But I don't think it was a good idea. I would try maybe through Amazon or eBay, gentlemen. That would be my opinion. But he didn't need to be put out that easily. I expected so much more from Luke Skywalker from Star Wars than the way he went out. You want to say he used, he strained himself across galaxies. Fine, you want to spin it that way. But what he did was not heroic. You planted a seed in the movie. If you look in the scene where Luke is training Rey, there's a spot very close to you. You can miss it if you actually, if you snap your fingers, you'll miss it. There's a spot where underwater, you'll see Luke's X-Wing sitting there. It would have been so much more. They planted these little seeds. You'd expect him near the battle when the Rebel fleet was leaving and they abandoned everybody and the ship was basically destroyed. The other Captain Hodo basically crashed into the Republic, into the First Order. I'm losing my mind now. But basically, it would have been so much more sense to have Luke swoop in on the X-Wing and destroy a couple of those new walkers. That would have made so much more sense. You planted the seed and don't deliver. It's like you show but don't tell. It's like you dangle a plot point out there and you expect it to pay off. That's what's called good writing. When you actually pay homage to something and pay it off in the story. That's good writing and good storytelling. This was horrible storytelling. You want to make him this kind of Force spirit, this phantom projection, fine. It didn't make any sense where he's sitting there fighting with his blue lightsaber, and then just a scene before, both Kylo Ren and Rey destroyed the thing. No one figured this out? Come on. Let me check the chat real quick here. Yep, I agree, OMG. Worst Star Wars movie ever. I will not watch it again. Agree? Yep, I agree. He was so anticlimactic, Javi, that I don't understand why they absolutely did that. I don't know why they went this direction. I believe maybe because JJ planted his seeds. He knew where the story was supposed to go. The new director decided, you know what? Here's all the stuff that JJ had. I'm going to throw it in the garbage, and I'm going to start something new. Rey's big reveal about her being, just sold by junkers and for just, drinking money was stupid. You were hoping for this big payout of this a very important character, and literally they threw it in the trash. They insulted every viewer for Star Wars canon. I think that was a horrible, horrible mistake. Those would be my big complaints between both franchises. But I want to ask chat, why do you think there's this big disconnect between the two? Hit me up in chat, please. Why do you think there's this disconnect between the two? Yep, I agree, Hobby. It'd be really cool to see him come out as the Force Ghost. Yeah, I don't know, Hobby. I'm hoping, I do know that from what I've heard, I believe JJ is going to be finishing the trilogy. He's going to be doing the last episode. So hopefully he can fix the horrible mess that happened from The Last Jedi. Everybody was so hyped up for The Last Jedi movie, and honestly, what it should have made and projected in the box office, even though it made a killing, it didn't make anywhere close to what it should have made. It should have made a lot more money, and it didn't make as much as it should have. I believe it actually got beat by Jumanji. If you look at Box Office Mojo, I think it actually got beat by Jumanji in the box office, which was extremely surprising. Let me just take a look here. I'll let you guys know now. I'll take a look here online. I think it actually got beat by Jumanji, which is extremely surprising. If it did, that is horrible, absolutely atrocious. So Jumanji made $941 million worldwide. Last Jedi, I think, made more, but $400 million was a domestic. Yeah. Last Jedi made $619 million domestically. Jumanji made $400 million. Foreign, it made $712, and worldwide it made $1.3 billion. So I mean, it made money, but it would have made so much more money if they would have had a better film. It just wasn't good. And Jumanji made $941 billion, if you were curious. Let me close that down there. Perfect. Let's see here. I'm just reading the chat real quick. Yep, I saw that one. It was very, very funny. I mean, the porgs, of course, we all know was used as a merchandising technique. That's why they did it. Hey, Stone Cold, how's it going? Stone Cold! Stone Cold! We got Stone Cold in the chat. Yep, Sir Comics, I kind of agree with that. I agree with that method of thinking. It's left tricks versus right tricks. One has to be better, you know. Like I said, I'm one of the rare guys who likes both properties. I think they're both good. Why there's such animosity between both of these IPs, both of these great franchises, I don't know. That's the reason why I'm making this conversation right now, because I don't understand why they're fighting. There's so much bickering between both these great, these great sci-fi fantasy projects. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. Agreed, Jackie. The problem is that people are so adamant and so strong with their convictions that the other property is always going to be worse, regardless of what they think. They might not have even watched those properties. I mean, I've seen people who said, I love Star Trek, but I've never seen Star Wars, and I think it sucks. Well, how can you make an opinion if you've never seen it before? Watch a few movies and make a decision. Just don't say it sucks just because you don't like it or you've never seen it. I've seen people who actually think this way. They'll say, for example, Green Lantern was the worst movie project ever made. Well, did you ever see the movie? Well, no. Well, I heard it sucked. Well, did you watch it? No. Well, you can't make that call. I have seen Green Lantern the movie, and it is a horrible, horrible film. Coming from someone who is a diehard Green Lantern fan, they did that movie a great injustice. People, however, who don't like comics may actually like the Green Lantern movie. I know people who actually have seen it and actually like the Green Lantern movie. They like that movie. They know nothing about the canon. They know nothing about the lore. They like the movie before they think it's a good movie. Me, on the other hand, I'm diehard against it only because I'm so into the ways and the lore and the culture of that property. Let me take a look at the chat here, see what we got. That was one thing I wanted to talk about also, Sir Comics, is I was going to get to that. It's very much like a Marvel DC thing, too. It feels very much like a Marvel DC split. It could be some peer pressure. I wouldn't doubt it at all. I wouldn't doubt it. Again, gentlemen, correct? It was a joke? OMG, I completely agree with you. It was a horrible, horrible joke. You had the wrong guy doing the movie, the wrong director, you had the wrong script, you had the wrong plot. Ryan Reynolds, he probably could have reined in the performance. I don't see him as Hal Jordan, in my honest opinion. It was the wrong guy to cast for that movie. I don't think Hal Jordan was. I don't think Ryan Reynolds was Hal Jordan. Now, if you ask me, was he Deadpool? Absolutely. They actually made, when they actually created the Deadpool character, they based him on Ryan Reynolds. That was one of the building blocks to build that character. The humor was Ryan Reynolds. They've actually established it in many interviews. So to get the guy that it was based on playing the role makes perfect sense. But I do agree, the Star Trek Star Wars clash is very much like the Marvel vs. DC clash. I'm sort of swinging more to the DC side. I like the DC properties, not because I don't like Marvel. I do like lots of stuff that Marvel puts out. However, all the stuff that I liked from Marvel, they've either canceled the books that I liked or killed those characters. So that's one of the reasons why I'm not a big fan of those properties. I don't like it because of what they've done to those books. That's my personal reason. And that could be a discussion that for another time. I think that would be another good kind of theme for another stream, in my honest opinion. I think that'd be a very, very good one. How is the sound, guys, on the mic? Everything good so far? Let me take a look at the chat here. Test, make sure it's okay. I think it's okay. Let me make sure that everything's good. We're having no issues. We're at the 23-minute mark. This is where my stream broke last week. I think everything is kosher now. It's not falling apart. I'm really happy about that. But again, I think that's... Who's here? Agreed. OMG, 100% correct. 100% correct. DC, a lot of people like the main three-tiered characters. DC, and this is what I wanted to say, but we'll talk about it a little bit here. DC has three big main hitting characters. You got Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman. Those are what's called the Trinity, the Holy Trinity. Those are the three biggest properties for DC. Marvel, however, makes good movies because they have a roadmap. They have a plan in place. They had phases in place of doing their continuity. And DC is scrambling, not knowing what to do. That's the big disconnect when it comes to DC versus Marvel in the movie universe. On the flip side, DC has nailed it for the small screen. When it comes to, let's say, Arrow, or Supergirl, or Legends of Tomorrow, or Flash, Marvel can't get it together. DC has nailed the TV market. Marvel is trying to fix that problem. So it's kind of the reverse. Let's see, here we got going on in the chat. No, I'm not fat. I'm just big boned. Yep, they had a crossover hobby. It was, I think, in 2017, I believe it was. I want to say it was either a 4 or 6 issue series. Then they also did Planet of the Apes and Green Lantern as a crossover. I actually do own that series. I have not yet read it. I'm just so backlogged in books right now. I don't want to say she's fourth pillar now. I still put her below. She's still second tier. Harley Quinn is really well known now, mainly because of the widespread media. In case people who are not familiar, Harley Quinn was never a comic book character. She was originally developed for the Batman animated series TV show by Paul Dini. Paul Dini actually created Harley Quinn, and then they decided the character was really loved in the animated TV show, and they rolled her into the actual continuity for DC Comics. That's what they did. I do like Turtles. I do like Ghostbusters. My favorite Turtle has always been and will always be Raphael. I always love Raphael. I always like the Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters 1 and 2, not the reboot. I thought the reboot was bad. Not my fan. Nope. Harley does rock. I love me some Harley Quinn. We got 8 people in stream. Awesome, guys. Give me a drink here. But yeah, I did see the crossover between Star Trek and Green Lantern. I thought it was really weird. Don't know why they wanted to go that way. Like I said, Harley, I would say I would put her. I don't say she is to the 4th tier yet. I would see the next level players would be maybe, let's say, Shazam, Green Lantern. Green Lantern, I would say, is just below. I would say he's close to the 4th pillar right now. In my honest opinion, he's very close. For a while, if you guys are not familiar, Green Lantern was a very hot book. back in I want to say 2011, 2012, when Jeff Johns wrote it, and the Blackest Night storylines, when Jeff Johns was the actual writer of those books, it was making #1. It was selling, best-selling, it was outselling every other book in DC, period. It was selling more books than Marvel, more books than Batman, more books than Superman, more books than the X-Men, more books than the Avengers, more books than what else, Spider-Man. It was outselling everything. But that's because of Jeff Johns' writing. When you have a good writer on a book, the book will do really, really well. In my honest opinion now, kind of off topic again, right now the books are not doing so well, in my honest opinion. The Hal Jordan Green Lantern book is okay. The normal Green Lantern book is suffering really, really, really badly. But to get back on track again, the fight between Star Trek and Star Wars, why is there such animosity? What do you guys think? Let me know. Anyone who just came in? Collecting hobbies, why do you think, man? Why do you think Star Trek and Star Wars are going at it? Why do they always butt heads? Why do you gotta like one, not the other? Why? I got questions. I need answers. Hit me up, please, in the chat. Why? Yep, gentlemen, I actually have one of the limited number ones. I picked one up several months ago. It was one of the female apes, I believe. Harley rocks, absolutely. But why is there this disconnect? Why is there this animosity between the two franchises? NYC, perfect. That's what I want to hear. Why do you like them both? You don't think there's a disconnect between the two? I have to disagree. I strongly disagree, actually. I see it all the time. Most of the Star Trek or Star Wars fans like one franchise and not the other. They don't like them both. And my question is, why can't we like them both? Why do we have to pick one? No. Not necessarily. They both have ships, but they do different things. Usually Star Trek, you have capital ships. You have the Enterprise, you have the Reliant, you have different classes of Enterprise, different ships all around. For Star Wars, you have some capital ships, but most of the time you have small fighters. Hey, Lindsay, glad to see you in the chat. They are different. I agree. I don't think they're connected in any way. I think the only thing that connects them even closely is they both take place in space. That would be the only, I think, semblance between the two. Sorry for the quiet. Just had to get a drink. Yep, they're entirely different. I don't disagree there. They're completely different. But I don't know why. Like I said, I've go to comic conventions. I've gone to comic book stores. I've seen literally arguments from geeks, literally like it was going to come to violence between these subjects, between these guys butting heads. This is better. No, this is better. No, this is better. Why can't we like them both? Why can't we both like sci-fi / fantasy stuff? Why can't we like both these properties equally? It's always one has to be better than the other. Why? Why? Yes and no, I agree. You do have, you know, basically you have wizards in space. You do. That's what Jedis are. They're literally wizards in space with laser swords. I agree. I like them both. One of the few rarities. I think they're both good properties. I think they both bring something different to the geek community or the community in general, to both sci-fi watchers across the board. They both bring different things, and I do think they bring both good things and bad things between the two. They both have their strengths and weaknesses. I agreed, Sir Comics. I agreed. It's always my guy is better than your guy, or it's, oh, here's how Iron Man can destroy the X-Men. That was a huge argument they had for many years in Wizard Comics, where it was a big argument by a writer, by a fanboy, said, I can prove to you how Iron Man can destroy the Avengers, or destroy the X-Men. Excuse me, how Iron Man can destroy the X-Men, or the Justice League. It's arguments back and forth, thinking my guy is better than your guy. Always. Collecting hobbies. Yeah, hobby was mentioned as well. I think it's more than just fantasy. There is sci-fi there as well. I think it's more of a hybrid than just fantasy. There is sci-fi stuff. If it was fantasy, we'd be back in the Middle Ages with Conan. We can't just say it's fantasy. I would say it's sci-fi fantasy. Star Trek is more sci-fi-ish. Absolutely. They use tech. They use scientific terminologies that they make up themselves, but it has more of a Star Trek, more sci-fi spin to it. I'm also a big fan of Battlestar Galactica. I like Battlestar. I like the old Battlestar, and I like the new Battlestar as well. I like that sort of sci-fi stuff as well. Not really fantasy. It's more sci-fi. That's fine, NYC. As long as someone can appreciate both properties, maybe not equally well, but not so far weighing the scales in one direction or the other. Very few people are actually in the middle. And that's one thing I think is really cool, when you can actually respect and admire both these actual properties. I agree, Hobby. I agree. Star Trek could happen. Absolutely. I would agree with that. It could happen. If technology got to that level, it probably could. I mean, we're talking hundreds more years in the future here, but it could happen. Absolutely. Okay? Of course the Force isn't real. It's a plot device. It's a way to make something work. Yeah, so I mean, I still don't get why, there's this argument between the both sides. I don't get it. I don't understand. The Force is fantastical. We all know about that. It was used by Lucas as a way to justify certain things. Yep, I agree. There's great actors in Star Trek. There has been great actors there. There have been great actors in Star Wars. I would say at least for the older stuff, the traditional Star Wars stuff. Star Wars, the newer stuff, not so much. See, that's what I'm talking about. Unless you're ribbing me, Star Wars. Unless you're ribbing me, AA. You might be ribbing me, so I can't say that. I don't know if you're pulling my leg. Understand, NYC? I can understand. A lot of people like Stargate. I tried getting into it. I really did. I really tried getting into Stargate. I saw the movies, and I tried to watch the show. I just couldn't get into it. That's just me. That's just me. And a lot of people like it. A lot of people like Firefly. I never saw Firefly. I heard it was a great show. Only one season. But I heard it was a great show. I agree. Some people like red, some people like blue. Which is funny because there was actually an episode of Red Dwarf about that too, where the cat people in Red Dwarf they had a war, literally had war, because some people thought their hats should be red and some thought the hats should be blue. It happened. Actually, Civil War happened with these cat people. Kind of sad, actually. I agree, Sir Comics. Absolutely. 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 The big mouse is milking it, milking it, milking it, milking it. Absolutely. Couldn't have said any better myself. The mouse does what the mouse wants. It only cost him $4 billion. Hell, one of the movies made back $1 billion. So it made his money back right there. That's not anything. Farscape, another good show. Don't feed the trolls, AA. Don't feed the trolls. OMG, I would not hold that against you, dude. I would not hold that against you. I liked some of the prequel stuff. I really did. The stuff with Jar Jar, I wasn't a big fan of. Was not a big fan of. Not a big fan of. At all. The Jar Jar stuff was racist. We all know that. Not a big fan of that stuff. I liked Attack of the Clones. I think it's kind of a joke. Me and friends of mine talked about it. Imagine having, you remember the old bouncy balls, those super balls that you would bounce like out of the quarter machines that you'd buy like in the mall or Walmart? You bounce a ball and you bounce it and it just flies away. Imagine taking a bouncy ball, stick a lightsaber through it. That was Yoda. That was Yoda in the Clone Wars, in the Attack of the Clone stuff. I agree, NYC. Absolutely. I've seen a little bits of the Clone War animated stuff. I think I saw the first, I want to say the first season and a half of Rebels. That's what it felt like to me with the Yoda reference. That's what I always thought it to be. I've heard of The Expanse. I didn't see it. I didn't see it. Now, to swing back to Star Wars for a moment, the whole stuff now with the new Solo movie. I want to touch base on that real quick here. In my honest opinion, the Solo movie should never have been made. At least not right now. The Rogue One movie was a great film. A great spin-off movie that was more of a war movie. It was not... It was based in war. It was no nice endings. There was no happy endings. You had death and violence in that movie. It was not a movie for kids. It was a really good movie. It was a movie, if you didn't call it Star Wars, it wouldn't have felt like Star Wars, in my honest opinion. It didn't feel like a Star Wars movie. But as far as Solo, I don't think they should have made this movie. At least not right now. They should have made, in my honest opinion, the bridge between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. You need the Obi-Wan movie. It needs to be made. There's a story that needs to be told there, not the Solo movie. I don't think right now that movie needs to be told. I think the Boba Fett movie needs to be told, to see him get out of the Sarlacc pit. It could be maybe a younger Boba Fett. Who knows? I don't think they're going to do it in normal continuity, but it needs to be told. The Solo movie, I don't think needs to be told. It's a movie that I look at the actor, it doesn't feel like Solo to me. It doesn't feel like Han Solo. I don't know why. I don't know what's pushing me away from that movie. Am I going to see it? Yes, because I like seeing Star Wars movies. I will see it. But I have a feeling, I don't know, it's something just, it doesn't feel right. That's all I can explain. It doesn't feel right. Hit me up. Why do you think that? Hit me up in the chat, please. Why do you think that? Why do you think there's something off with the Solo movie? Or are you guys excited to see Solo? I'm not. I'm not. I agree, Sir Comics. The only thing I do like is the pristine Falcon. The Falcon that we see prior to the adjustments that Han Solo makes on it. This is where it has that kind of narrowed wedge front, and it only has one gun above and below. So, and it's all white on the inside. It's very pristine, like it just came off the lot. So it's going to be different. What's no, OMG? They're pulling a lot of, they're making stupid monies off of this. They knew it. I mean, Lucas sold it for cheap. I mean, he sold it with all. I think he sold it the Lucasfilm. The brand, basically, he sold everything for $4 billion. And to me, that's very, very low money. I think even Lucas donated a huge chunk of it to charity. Chewbacca will look the same and sound the same. I agree. No to Solo movie. I don't know why they're doing it. Again, I'm going to watch it just because it's a Star Wars-based property, but I don't know why. No one's Billy D. Colt 45. No one's Billy D. Billy D is just awesome. You gotta love Billy D. I agree. I agree. Why tell us? Why tell us what happened years and years ago? Do we need to know this story? They could have told that story in books. They could have told that story in comics. They could have done it animated. Why do we need to see this movie on the big screen? What does it bring to the table? Does it complete Han Solo's, his story? I don't think it really does. I don't think we need this movie right now, at least in my opinion. Possibly. I agree. Doing it out of sequence this way, so you basically have to circle back to before anything ever happened, is weird. What I would love to see, a Knights of the Old Republic movie. Absolutely. Absolutely. That would be a great movie. That would be a great take on it. When you have tons of Jedis, when you have more of the fantastical and less of the sci-fi. Heck yeah, absolutely. Hello, Epic. How's it going? Glad to see you in the stream. I loved Rogue One. I absolutely loved Rogue One. Absolutely. Never seen Altered Carbon. Yep, they need to make a Knights of the Old Republic. I think that would have been an awesome movie to see. We saw cinematics of it from the Old Republic video game, something like that. Doing maybe if even it could have been past the Old Republic stages when you still had lots of Jedi. I mean, they could have did stuff with Revan, which I think would be a really really cool idea. But as far as Rogue One, I think that was a great film. I think it was something that no one was expecting. It did really. I think it did well in the box office. Let me check here to see how it did in the box office. I haven't even checked yet to see the box office numbers on it. I think it did pretty good. I hope it did good because I loved it. I thought it was a great flick. Absolutely a great flick. It made $1 billion. Of course it did. Of course it did. It made $532 million domestically with $523,000 foreign for $1.56 billion. So if you ask my opinion, that's good money on it. It was a really, really good film. I loved Rogue One. It was not a happy story, as I mentioned earlier. It was a good, good movie. Yeah, The Old Republic should be definitely a movie, if not a TV show. I could definitely see it as a TV show. I don't know if they do it animated. I think doing it live action would be really, really cool. Exceptionally expensive. Absolutely expensive. It would be ridiculous, the budget for that show. Later, gentlemen. Take care. Absolutely. It'd be ridiculous how much that show would be. That show would be... It would be millions per episode. Thanks for coming into the stream, gentlemen. It'd be silly how expensive it would be. Make sure everything's okay here. Checking the stream real quick here. See how everything's going along. Stream is still holding steady at 43 minutes. Really, really impressed. Did anybody see the, It didn't pop up. Let me run a test real quick here. Hold on, guys. I didn't see that pop up. Has anybody seen the little guitar dancing around when someone subscribed? Let me see if it pops up here on the stream for you guys. Because there's a delay between when I fire it and when it pops up. I see it, but I don't know if you guys see it. Hopefully it shows up. Because I've gotten a couple subscribers. There it is. Perfect. I just have not noticed it. But I do agree. Yeah, it'd be cool doing a 3-part movie building up to the Sith War. I know that the new movies are going to take place after the last movie here in the saga. There's 3 new movies, but I believe it has nothing to do with Skywalkers at all. So it's going to be completely out of that realm. So it's going to be completely different. Yeah, I don't know why. I fired the button and I'm seeing it. I see it pop up. I don't know why the thing didn't pop up. I don't get it. I don't get it. I fired a test. Let me fire another one here. Hold on. I don't get why I'm not seeing it. I'm seeing it when I'm firing it. And I see my little thing pop up. But I'm not seeing it. Whatever. Yeah, it's probably delayed. But I do agree. Having a Knights of the Republic stuff would be a really, really cool thing to have. I think that would be a really cool idea. But, you know, I wanted to have this conversation with my audience, with you guys here. I think both these fandoms are just equally as important. I don't think you need to be on one side of the fence or the other. That's what I was getting at with this whole stream. That's what I really wanted to talk about, is that I see the disconnect between both properties. And it's really sad because they're 2 really good properties that are out there. They just fight back and forth all the time. Again, I've seen it get really, really physical. Oh, well, it could have come to blows. But it's really physical between both sides. I don't know the reason why. Very, very odd why they fight this way between the 2. Oh, cool. He actually liked the podcast. AA. That's really cool. I'll plug it just because I always plug stuff. If you guys are into wrestling, that's right, I got my Kenny Omega shirt on right now. If you're into wrestling, I highly recommend checking out a podcast that I do with Admiral Akbar, otherwise known as Star Wars Collecting and Hobbies. Let's see here. Give me a second. It is right here. I will put the link into the chat for you guys. Right there it is. If you guys want to, check it, look at it, take a look at it. It is myself and AA, otherwise known as Star Wars Collecting and Hobbies. Him and I do a... Awesome, Sir Comics. Him and I do about a bi-monthly wrestling chat. He talks about the WWE stuff. I talk about the non-WWE stuff. I talk about the independent wrestling, mainly New Japan Pro Wrestling, Ring of Honor, things that are not WWE. I talk about old school wrestling stuff like WWE Legends. I talk about more vintage wrestlers. I talk about WCW stuff that I was growing up with back in the day. So if you like that type of approach, definitely take a look at our wrestling podcast. We have some big news coming down the pipe that myself and AA will be doing. We're going to be doing a lot of cool stuff. If you guys want to, I believe it was AA was it was Worldwide Wrestling Podcast at gmail.com, right? I think it was this. I think that was the email, correct? I'm probably off there, but I think I cut off. That'd be funny. I can see a debate between the two. Absolutely. Absolutely. So if you guys are definitely into wrestling, definitely take a look at our podcast. I know they also do the First Jedi podcast. Speaking of Star Wars, I've on a few episodes. I was on several of them. I think 3 or 4 episodes I was on that we were talking Star Wars stuff as well. So I do stuff with collecting hobbies. He's my co-host when it comes to the wrestling show, and he mainly handles the First Jedi podcast as well. Definitely take a look at those podcasts if you're into that sort of stuff. So what else? What else do you guys think? Why is there still more? And anything else left to debate here? You think there's not going to be any end between the conflict between these two properties? Can't we just all get along? Can't we all just get along? That's all I ask. I don't know why, but again, I wanted this sort of, not really debate, but I wanted to make this line of discussion with you guys to find out why something like this is happening. 9 people in chat. Thank you guys for sticking along. Let me know what you guys think. Javi, is your daughter watching the chat with you? Tell her I said hi. Excuse me. I'm just reading the chat right now. Spock and Yoda in a universal debate. I could see that. Again, I could see that. That'd be kind of funny. See them go at it just behind pillars. Just see them going back and forth in a debate. I could see it. Definitely see it. OMG, as long as you, Oh, hey, yeah, he's come in before. Nick Gertz has come into my chat before. I've seen him. Shout out to Nick. But I agree, OMG. I definitely agree. Yeah, stuff like that I've seen. I've seen Stormtroopers and Klingons go at it. Absolutely. As long as there's no... In my opinion, as long as you can appreciate both franchises, maybe not equally well, but as long as you can... you might like one more than the other, or maybe respect one more than the other. Like I said, for me, I'm more middle ground. I'm very, very much middle ground on that. I like both franchises. I don't think both franchises are perfect in any way, shape, or form. I think they both have their strengths and their weaknesses. And especially now, with, in this case, the Star Wars property going over to Disney's side, it's completely spiraling out of control right now. With the Last Jedi movie, it went completely off the rails. People hated it. There's a lot of backlash. I mean, as AA can attest, we've actually had a full review on that movie. I bashed the hell out of it. I'm not a big fan of it. I don't like the stuff they did in that movie. I think they could have made a much better film. Federation or the Empire? In what continuity are we talking here, Sir Comics? Are we talking Empire at its peak and Federation at its peak? Are we talking the First Order against the Federation now? Let's take a look here. Here. Maybe OMG. I saw that movie a long time ago. Long time ago. I can't remember. That's funny though, AA, that a guy dressed up as Spock broke up the brawl between a stormtrooper and a Klingon. That's kind of funny, actually. Um, if the Federation and the Empire were to go at it, um, the well the well the Empire had Death Stars, plural, plural. The Federation did not have a doomsday weapon of any type that I know of. They had advanced ships, but I don't believe they. If it came down to a fight, I think honestly, I think the Empire would probably win. I think they would outlast the Federation. I don't think the Federation has the firepower to really destroy, at least a Death Star. Making the assumption they don't have the way to steal the tech to get the plans to blow up the Death Star, they really wouldn't know what to do. Yes, it can only fire a beam every, let's say, few minutes, but you have so many, capital ships. You have so many fighters flying around. You just had so much more coming from the Empire, from the Star Wars side, than you had from the Federation side. You didn't really have snub fighters. You didn't have really, let's say, fighting jets. You had big capital ships. With Star Wars, you had a lot of TIE fighters. You had small maneuverable ships like that. Excuse me. With the Federation, you didn't have that. You might have Defiant class ships. I mean, if you had hundreds and hundreds of Defiant class ships, then maybe, but I don't think so. And then you have, let's say, we're talking the Federation, we're not talking the Borg, correct? I'm going to scroll up in the chat real quick here to make sure. Second here. I'm just scrolling back on the chat 1 second here. Yeah, so comics. I think the Death Star would be the linchpin. You had not only one Death Star, but you had two. And you had huge capital ships that were bigger than, let's say, Enterprise ships or even dreadnoughts. They were massive ships with tons and tons of fighters. I think it would just, I think the Empire would just overwhelm them, but sheer numbers. Yes, there was a Star Trek animation show, Jackie. It was actually originally based on the original Star Trek classic TV show, just animated. So they took literally the classic TV show and they animated literally on top of it. They did basically sort of like a rotoscope effect, where you would have literally the TV show, and then they basically did cells on top of it. That's how they actually created the Star Trek TV show, or the animated TV show. I wouldn't even need to go that far. I mean, like I said, before they even got in the range, the Death Star would be blowing ships up. You would have, all the snub fighters destroying all the capital ships. The fight wouldn't last very long. I mean, you had lots of Federation ships, but between, let's say, we're not even talking about the Maquis invasion and things like that, or the Dominion. We're not talking about those things. Let's see here. Yeah, you had the Doomsday Machine, Hobby, but we're not using that as a weapon against the Empire. The discussion was simply, if you had the Empire against the Federation, who would win? Yes, the Federation went against the Doomsday weapon, and if, Hobby, if you're not familiar, that alien weapon was actually a Borg-destroying weapon. They actually wrote it in the canon. That's actually a Borg-breaking device, where they couldn't assimilate it, and it would destroy Borg cubes. That's what it was built for. That was the purpose of the Doomsday device. Possibly my favorite Star Trek original series episode was the Doomsday device. That big, long, looks like a log. I love that episode. I agree. But again, we're talking the Federation versus the Empire. Yeah, no problem, Jackie. No problem. It was actually really cool. They actually made that classic episode, the Doomsday device, into an episode of the animated series as well. No problem, Hobby. I did my research about that, actually. There was a lot of stuff that talked about that, and I think they actually had a book about the Doomsday device weapon, where it was some type of celestials millions and millions of years ago. I think they made two of those doomsday weapons. I believe. I could be wrong. I think it's the people that were somehow involved with the Borg. It has something to do with the Borg, and it was meant to basically obliterate the Borg. That's what it was built for, because they could not assimilate it. That special weird alloy across the surface of the actual log-like weapon, they couldn't assimilate that technology, and it would just blow Borg cubes apart one by one. Hyperdrive or warp drive? I would probably say warp drive, only because hyperdrive, they always have to, like, program it through their computers or they'll jump into the sun. Warp drive, they never mention anything like that. They have to plug in coordinates and then go. They just went. It seemed like warp drive, would I believe one more than the other? No. But it looks like one seems to be harder to do than the other. It's basically just a fancy version of light speed. That's basically what hyperdrive really is. You can't really go faster than the speed of light. That's the fastest you could possibly go. Warp drive is bending the laws of physics, where you're not really, you're warping space and time. That's what you're really doing. That's what warp drive is. You're basically warping the laws of physics. That's how you're able to go. For people who are not familiar, when you say warp 1 is light speed. When you go warp 2, you're going 2 times the speed of light. Warp 3 is 3 times the speed of light. That's what it really means. They just don't say that on the actual Star Trek show. That's what they really mean in the TV show or in the movies. When they go warp 5, they're going 5 times the speed of light. That's what they really mean. And the funny thing is, Javi, I'm not the biggest Star Trek nerd. I know a lot of things. That's one thing I sort of pride myself on, is I know lots of different things. I'm not a specialist when it comes to Star Trek, or a specialist when it comes to Star Wars. I know lots of bits and pieces that are kind of interesting, and I'd like to bring my information to you guys, the audience. But it is coming close to 10 o'clock. I'm surprised I was able to talk this long about Star Trek and Star Wars. I want to thank everyone who participated in this particular chat tonight. Definitely we'll be doing, again, the same type of chat next week. I'm not sure of the theme yet. I'm juggling with an idea. I think it's a very good discussion to talk about. The score is 1-1. I agree, Sir Comics. 1 for Empire, 1 for Federation, and 1 for Star Wars. I agree. So I want to thank everybody who's in this chat today. We're going to be cutting it in about a minute. Again, I want to thank everybody who decided to come across for this particular discussion. Again, it was Star Trek versus Star Wars, and why do they need to fight against one another. I want to thank everyone who was in this chat tonight. Definitely take a look at it on the VOD. Thanks for coming in, Javi. Yeah, it was a good show tonight. I'm really happy. The turnout, we had about 9 people in here at one time. To me, that's good. If I get 2 people in my chat, I'm happy. Again, I want to thank everyone who did participate in the chat tonight. Definitely look for the one next week. And I'm going to be cutting the stream in 3 seconds, guys, 2 seconds, and 1. Thanks for guys staying. See you guys in the next episode. Take care, and bye-bye.